Welcome back to the Zero Space Program, where last time out we repeatedly smashed this thing, whatever it is, into the ground. I've been drinking quite heavily. It is Friday after all, so that's probably the perfect time to begin to expand upon our design. So, in accordance with our initial design idea, this is somehow, I did want the wings a little bit further back, but this is going to form, let's call it the cockpit. And we have very limited options, actually, aerodynamically speaking, as to how to enlarge the design, because you might be thinking that we could just piggyback this on the back of something larger, which it could work. I think I have had something like that work in the past, but the problem is it's quite difficult to make it work, and given the modularity of what we're trying to achieve, something that falls apart as it flies, putting it on the top of something bigger is going to be a recipe for disaster. So what we're going to do is expand backwards. So what I'm going to do is off camera, and I know I said I'd go through the build stage with you, but I think the final build stage is the one that's going to be interesting. I'm going to do a lot of messing around here and it's going to turn into a super long video. I'm going to try and expand this sort of, let's call it the stage 2 model, and that would be, well, it wouldn't really be stage 2, would it, because we're counting down backwards. It would be the stage before we reach this one, and we'll build a few stages back on top of that, and hopefully we have something with which we can make our attempt on the pole. Back in a moment. Alrighty, I had a stroke of genius. No matter what anybody tells you, necessity is not the mother of invention, it's actually cheap Belgian lager. And I realised I'd made a bit of a fuck up. You see, the jet engines don't have capacity for a decoupler, which means, any stack you put a jet engine on, that's the end of that stack. I come up with an ingenious solution. The end module is now running on 2 engines, and it expands down a central stalk. I've got a good feeling about it. I don't know what you guys think. Yes, we have gone mental. This is unlikely to be the final design because it's completely nuts. And you're probably looking at it and thinking, now hold on, that larger landing gear is really messed up. That's actually a design feature that I'm hoping is going to prove successful, so that we can tilt the nose up ever so slightly to help us get off the ground. It's not rigged for fuel efficiency right now. It will be efficient, but only at certain altitudes. So this is a chance for us to test these engines, which are the super powerful turbofans, and these, which I've forgotten what they are, but I know what they look like, the robot nipples. So we're going to test the robot nipples on the turbofan just as an efficiency test, and then we're going to test the decoupling stage. And given that last time out we successfully created a nose section that flies perfectly well by itself, shut up, we did. That means if we can safely decouple this in the air, you can probably tell I lost faith in my own ability halfway through that sentence, then, we're on to a winner, and then we can move on to stage 3, and then we're ready to make a pole run attempt. I was expecting to make this into an even bigger aircraft, but now I'm thinking about it, this is actually probably, if it actually works, a decent design that we can just expand with extra fuel tanks and engines and stuff to account for the weight. So some horrific aeronautical mutant is going to come out of this, but in the meantime, we must walk before we must run. Yeah, that's meant to happen. All my designs tend to drag their arse a little bit. If I set the SAS... Oh, it's a bit keen to climb. There. Okay, we're just going to fly in a straight line because, to be honest with you, I don't have the guts to turn it round. It accelerates very, very well. What's going to be key for us is the first stage is not necessarily going to be fuel efficient. That's when the weight's at the highest, and it's also when we're going to be at the altitude we're going to be least fuel efficient. We want to get up where the air's a bit thinner, which means all these extra air intakes are going to allow us to continue to operate. I don't like how it's begun to sort of wobble itself apart, so I'm going to throttle back just a smidge. It's climbing very, very well. Let's try... I probably shouldn't turn while it's doing this, but it's fine, you know. Alright, no, it's not fine, but no, here we go, here we go. This is a chance to test all our decoupling. I think we've lost an aileron off the nose piece, but wait till we're right way up. Okay, that wasn't the right way to do that, but that's right. Although that second explosion did cost us an engine, so maybe I won't turn the engine on, eh? How's that for a solution? Come on, play nice. Play nice. Okay, so we're gonna glide down. And we've lost both ailerons now, which is going to be good. And we're picking up speed now with the glide. So I'm going to... Oh, we're missing... That's why. I went for a sort of X-wing on steroids kind of look, but we've lost part of the X, so now it's bizarrely drawn Y. But it's all good, probably. Oh, I'm pressing the wrong buttons. That explains more than you might imagine. And hold. Oh, yes, yes. We need to pick up the speed again. I don't think we're going to make it back to land. I daren't. Oh, come on, come on. I daren't fire that engine because it's just going to put us into a spin like in Top Gun. And we don't want a Top Gun spin. No one wants a Top Gun spin. Come on, parachutes. Do your job. Oh, look at that! I'll be honest, it is... Let's be fair, it's marginally less intact than I had envisaged, but Bob is not dead. See, look, there he is. And now it's just a short 14.2 kilometre swim back to home. Lovely. Okay, this seemed like a good idea at the time, and I have stuck it together with space tape, but what this does is allows us to separate all these pieces that were colliding with each other, so it's looking more modular to the test way. Look at it. Are you ready, Bill? I know you are. We all are. The only bummer really is sort of learning to accept that it's very probable my genius will go unappreciated in my lifetime. Still got a propensity for pulling up, but you know, some might argue that's a good design feature in an aircraft. And now the drag of that isn't coming into play, we might be alright. I think the front of that shock cone is still going to fuck us, but we'll see. Now I have, on purpose, designed that these engines should run out of fuel first, so we can test these at the higher altitude. They are running, simply because this thing weighs a lot, as you might imagine. We are storing fuel in this section, here, and here, and here. And these two engines here are also detachable. I'm not entirely sure why I made that decision, but I'm sure for some reason it was the right thing to do. Okay, we're still climbing, coming up to 4,000 meters. You'll see here there's like an atmosphere gauge, and we want to still have air because we didn't pack rocket fuel, but we do want to be slightly higher up so that, you know, the conditions are more beneficial. In fact, actually, we can see, yeah, this is actually getting more efficient as we go higher. Is that the same here? No. Okay, so what we've learned is that these are the low altitude engines and these are for much higher. Okay, those are flamed out, and now we're flying on these two. And you see we are washing off speed, but that's fine. Slow and steady completes the race. So now, even though we're flying in the wrong direction, we're going to test how well we, what kind of range we get out of this thing. I'm just going to pitch up ever so slightly because we're washing off altitude as well as speed. There we go. Now, another key test that this has to pass is we are washing off quite a lot of speed. Is it enough to stop us stalling out? I mean, that speed really is coming down now. I think anything over 200 we're probably okay, but I'm worried that we will start falling like a rock. But so far, let's be honest, this is actually going quite well. I mean, it's ugly as all fuck, but whatever. It's doing its job. Functionality over form, that's the key. That's how scientists do it, probably. And I mean, Bill's incredibly mellow about the whole thing. If he can be so sanguine, then I don't see why we should be concerned. Now, the great thing about this game is you do have a whole solar system to explore. You can see the moon up there. This planet actually has 2 moons. I can't see Minmus. It's probably not Minmus. Is it Minmus? Yeah, it is Minmus. Jesus. There is another moon with very, very low gravity and a sort of... It looks like a frozen dessert. You're going to love it when we get there. But we still have to conquer, especially at high altitude and stuff. And I mean, ideally, once I've proven this concept, I'd like to take this front element and we'll put it on one of our early missions into orbit and see what we can learn about atmospheric re-entry, because it really wasn't a big factor last time I played this game, and it's going to bite me in the bollocks if I'm not prepared. You don't just have to worry about the effects of heat, which of course is a big concern. Things will overheat and explode. You also have to worry about the angle at which you hit the air, the speed at which you hit the air, and how your creation handles aerodynamically. You know, there is a right and a wrong way to re-enter. We'll be learning that with something small about this size. I mean, we will eventually need to go bigger. I do like the idea of spaceplane missions. I think that versatility is much better. I mean, there are advantages to using a conventional rocket. Launching is certainly easier. And contextually, it could go either way which one's easier to land. It depends on the circumstances, but a spaceplane does give you that versatility. We're getting very close to that 200 meters a second. I don't know, I'm still feeling quite happy. It's going the right way, and obviously when we're doing the longer distance tests, I will edit the ever-loving fuck out of these, because you don't want to watch me fly in a straight line for... It could take hours to get across there, to be honest. And I would turn the speed up, but that also increases the physics load, and it's a very, very good chance that this whole thing could shake itself to pieces. So now I've got something stable that will fly straight on its own. I can go away and make a sandwich. You'd never know, and then, you know, we all come back when something interesting happens. In the meantime, I think this is enough of a test to have proved that the core idea is sound, and believe me, no one is more surprised about that than me. So I'm going to throttle back, and hopefully that doesn't cause us to spin out, and before we lose too much speed, we're going to do a decouple. Hey, look at that, motherfuckers! And we'll gently throttle up. Well, I'm sorry, but if there is a medal for being a fucking genius, it's going to me. That's a win. crowd goes wild. And we're flying. Bob still couldn't give less of a shit. He's checking the football scores. It's all gravy to him. What we're going to do now is turn back for home. It may have been a miscalculation that we probably... Actually no, we will have the range to get back because this is so much lighter that it burns a lot less fuel even though it's running 2 engines when previously we were running 1. We do have 2 extra external tanks, so we could probably make a run back. At which point, obviously, we'll have a successful landing like we do every time. We are running into some aerodynamic problems. I'll try resetting the SAS. I must say this is going swimmingly. I'm going to take us in a bit closer and then I'll join you again for the landing. Honestly, I don't know what to tell you. This is a massive surprise to me. I didn't expect this to be a much longer video with much more explosions. I'm guessing it makes some sense that having a core platform that was functional, that stage 2 probably wouldn't be so difficult, but stage 3 I think we're working with such a scale that it's going to be very, very hard to get correct. So hopefully I can make up for my failure quota in the next episode. But yeah, I mean, all that's left now is perfect flawless landing. I'm going to ease back on the throttle because 200 meters a second is a bit hot to be coming in, and we're going to have to wash off some altitude. I have had 2 thoughts. We off camera we did have some aerodynamic problems. It did start buffeting quite badly, so I'd like to space tape these engine nacelles to the main body to stop them wobbling, and I think air brakes would pay for themselves at this point. So yeah, it's extra weight and it's something else that we have to lift, but it's definitely going to be worth the investment given that I have no way of slowing this fucking thing down except these measly parachutes. The other problem I have is this landing gear. The landing gear is so fragile compared to the other models that I think there's still some work to do on maybe picking a more robust design. I picked these, as I say, because they are the lightest and provide the least drag. But that's all academic if you're dead. I'm sure Bob would agree, even if he does look very mellow about the whole situation. And he is careening towards the ground at 200 and something, oh no, 180 something now, meters per second. I've got it down to 150, let's cut the engines. I think 150 something is probably landable. I'm going to not go for the runway because falling off it will be fatal, and I don't believe I can keep this straight. If I land this perpendicular now to the fucking runway, so we'll nose up a bit. This feels very alien. There's no way this can go right. Okay, don't want to stall out, so back down again. It feels a lot faster than 91, I'll be honest with you. Let's watch it from the side so I can keep the wheels in the right place. Come on. Oh dear. Oh, surely not. Surely not. It's 0. In off the post, back of the net. That's incredible. Look at the fucking state of that. I think it's fairly safe to say we have conquered stage 2. I'm genuinely astounded. I don't know if it comes across, but I am genuinely astonished. This thing looks ridiculous. The whole idea and concept is stupid. I picked it specifically because I didn't think it was possible, but we might actually get to the pole. Who would have guessed? I'm just going to put the brakes on. You made it, buddy. Vessel recovered. Thank you very, very, very much for joining me. I will try to be more disappointing next time. Have a great Friday.